I opened up 30 boxes of Unfinity. Let's have a talk. Well, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. Ow! My name is Louie. I hope you're having yourself a fantastic day. I'm a little tired. Last night, we spent a lot of time at the shop, opening up 30 boxes of Unfinity. If you weren't familiar with our podcast on Friday, we talked a lot about the set and about Warhammer. We talked about being worried about it. George and I, both store owners, kind of over-ordered and didn't get allocated at all on Unfinity. So we had kind of a question mark of what to do with it. I was really afraid that this was going to turn into a Baldur's Gate type scenario where I was going to see the cost of my boxes be shot by like 30% on TCG Player, and we were going to see one of those places where stores just got completely obliterated. So this week I've been trying to figure out exactly what to do, and I had a thought last night. Man, there's Shocklands in here. I wonder what would happen if we would just open a chunk of the boxes to where I feel comfortable with what we have left, and to see where we are. And so that's what we did. I felt like the draft booster boxes were the way to go because the pull rates on the Shocklands were just a little bit different in the collector boxes that I opened. I was only getting like one Shockland every 24 packs. So we went for it and we opened up the Unfinity draft boosters. We opened up 30 boxes, which is 5 cases. I'm going to tell you your costs. It's very, very close to our costs. Your costs, I think right now on TCG Player, it's about $95 a box, or at least that's what it was a couple days ago, which puts our costs at around like $2,850 to open up about 30 boxes. And these cards that we open have been available on TCG Player for 12 hours, and we already have $2,870 in sales after fees. That's $2,526, and then after shipping we're sitting around $2,400. So after 12 hours we've made almost all but $300 back on our initial profit. We opened a total of 84 Shocklands in 30 boxes. 30 of those were the foil box toppers and 54 of them, so almost one every 2 boxes, a little bit less than one every 2 a little bit less than 2 in every box, Shocklands for the non-foil side. So after all that stuff, we're in the hole like $300, but we still have 20 non-foil Shocklands and 7 foil Shocklands, and then a plethora of the full art land cards. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I think at the end of the day, we will probably be sitting at around a 15% profit off of opening the boxes after shipping and fees, which I think is a really, really good, personally, turning something that I was very worried about and kind of felt like I was in the hole on as a store. I was shocked when, no pun intended, I was shocked when I didn't get allocated on my initial order. I've been allocated on every other Magic product since I started as a store. So when they told me I had to take, I was going to have to take all my boxes, I always take what what I've asked for. That's just something I want to do with my reps. But B, I was like, what am I going to do with it? So I think it was a success. I think opening these boxes is a success, and I think for you, opening these boxes can be even more of a success. If you are interested in the Shocklands of this set, based on my math and my opening experience, now there were a couple boxes that you got 0 Shocklands in, there were some boxes that we got 3 or 4 Shocklands in, but based on my experience, if you are interested in these cards, you could have a 30% arbitrage in opening. So compared to buying the singles, you could open these and have like between a 25 and 30% arbitrage. So then you could trade for the cards that you want rather than buying the cards you need. I think that's a way that you could do this. And I do expect for these Unfinity boxes, after the initial, again, no pun intended, but shock of supply enters the market, we will see these boxes dry up pretty quick, and you'll start seeing these kind of going up in price, pending that distribution doesn't have a metric ton of them behind. I know they still have some available, but it'll be interesting to see that. So let's talk about a few other things. First off, almost 0 value in the non-land cards. I guess it's a little bit extreme. About an average of $10 in cards above 50 cents in the set that were not lands. I'm saying like not the basic lands, not the shock lands, not these galaxy, not galaxy foils, sorry, not these planetary lands. About $10 in cards that were not lands. And here's my take on that. First off, we did that for the first 2 cases. We actually scanned all the cards, and the idea was going to be to figure out exactly what cards we needed to set aside that had some value. And we found like Saw in Half was about a $7 card, Space Bellrun about a $3 card, and the Comet the Dog is about a $5 card. Now, what we found though is that we didn't need those to really impact the value. And my personal take is that these are going to be cards, some of these cards are going to be, end up being staples in Commander. I think you're going to have some sort of like Ledger Shredder scenario where you're going to have some of these cards that are really cheap on the initial week. And then as the market picks up, you're going to see these cards be $10, $15, $20 cards. So what I ended up doing, because what we realized very quickly was we were going to be profitable without selling any of those non-land cards. And so what I ended up doing is just I have a box full of all the rares, and I'm going to revisit this in a couple of months and say, okay, where are the prices of these cards? How much is Saw in Half? How much is all these kind of legal cards for Commander? Because I think the market is missing those things, and I think a lot of people don't. I honestly think a lot of people don't know that they're legal, that some of them are legal. And as you go and play with your Commander group and somebody plays a Saw in Half on you, you're going to learn about that card and you're going to be like, oh, I didn't realize that that was legal. I know people who are watching the YouTube video right now, everyone's like, no, I know that. But you clicked on an Unfinity video because you know about Unfinity. And there will be people, I think a chunk of it, I mean, I was talking to my store, like 2 or 3 people in the store last night didn't know that there was any legal cards in Unfinity. And maybe that's my fault for being like a terrible store owner, but I think it's also just completely different from the backings of the rest of the unsets. And man, I think when people figure that out, you're going to see increased demand for some of those cards. That's going to drive the prices up. So personally, we kept back all the rares that weren't the lands because A, we didn't need them, and B, I just think that they are currently the market's just not valuing them as anything. I mean, $2 or $3 is nothing. So that's another interesting feel of this. So anyway, we still have like 20 non-foil shocks and 7 foil shocks. One of the reasons I didn't do the collector box, I can't remember if I said this earlier, but we didn't open all the collector boxes, is simply put the pull rate for the Galaxy foil shocklands is so low that it just seemed like a much increased risk to me. And this seemed like a much safer open, a much more consistent open, and I would rather consistently gain 10 to 15% than have an opportunity and hit a Galaxy foil and make all the money back on my box, but then not really feel like it's worth it to open the other 4 boxes in the case because I just hit a Galaxy foil shockland. But we'll see where that chews out. I still have a good chunk of the collector boxes at CaptainsMarket.com if you're interested in those. But it's just an interesting take, man. This is a wild set. This is going to be, I think, one of those sets that we look back on and we didn't fully understand what was happening when it was happening. You have the Warhammer 40k decks came out at the same time. It took a lot of the demand, took a lot of the interest away from this set, mixed with a brand new idea of having legal cards in there and shocklands in there and beautiful new full art shocklands. This is going to be a very interesting one to watch, and I hope you'll join along with us. We'll talk about this again on the podcast. I know George also opened up a bunch of boxes yesterday. So we'll talk about it again on the podcast. If you are looking for a Magic the Gathering podcast, make sure you check in on Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Anyway, I hope you have yourself a fantastic day. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about Unfinity and about the idea of opening up boxes for value right now. It seems crazy. Have a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you, and we'll see you again next video.